The wait is over. AEW Fight Forever is finally here. This is probably one of the more anticipated video games to release over the past couple years, at least among wrestling fans. I mean, we've been hearing about it in some form for damn near as long as AEW itself has been around. Now, pretty quickly, AEW and its developer, Ukes, perhaps best known for his work on the WWE wrestling games such as WWF SmackDown, WWE Raw vs. SmackDown, and the first 7 WWE 2K titles, gave us an idea of their vision for this particular game. A fast-paced, arcade-style game that put the fun back in wrestling simulations. This instantly sparked thoughts of No Mercy, a beloved old-school title that is clearly one of its inspirations. It also gave us an idea of what AEW Fight Forever might look like, which was further fueled by slow-roll screenshots of gameplay highlights and details of the journey to come. Well, like AEW itself, Fight Forever has been polarizing long before it hit the streets. But before we even broach that nonsense, let's try to take a look at what this game actually brings to the ring. Fight Forever promised to make all the high-octane, explosive action from its weekly wrestling shows easily accessible for gamers from all around the world. Something this succeeds at for the most part. It's simple and straightforward to play and loaded with many of the same innovative, insane moves that you see on TV. The simple and straightforward element is one of its selling points and also a source of annoyance as I follow the journey. Because you got all these cats, from YouTubers to everyday fanboys, all like, yeah, dude, I've waited 25 years for a wrestling game, but I can pick up and play. No hassles, bro. Maybe even play a few rounds in between babysitting the kid, change a few shitty diapers, go back to playing. Fucking sweet, man. I don't know why I just went into dude mode, but I did. Whatever. Now, obviously, this rendition or whatever, narrative, if you will, probably the best way to say it, is a jab at the WWE games, which have dominated the market for the bulk of those 25 years, as my dude voice just referenced. I'm even locked in this little back and forth with some butt boys on Facebook who specifically called out the 2K games for how hard they are to play. And I'm like, dude, stop playing with me. This shit is not a rocket science simulation. The 2K games are about as pick up and play as you get when it comes to a damn video game. Obviously, it takes time to master it, but that's the case for any game. You learn the basics, and then you pick up the bells, whistles, and shenanigans over time. So yes, intuitive mechanics means that Fight Forever is indeed easy to play. However, I still haven't figured out how to execute dives and springboards off the ropes. Same problem I had with the 2K games, which can also be resolved, of course, by simply looking up the damn moves, which you can do within the game. But hey, pick up and play is what I literally do, so in that regard, this game isn't exactly reinventing the wheel. So, the gameplay is cool, though it can be clunky and confusing at times. For example, I'm still a bit baffled about how the damage meter works. Like, sometimes you'll get right up after getting clobbered, and sometimes you'll be down for a long ass time. Like, did I just get knocked the fuck out or what? But my absolute least favorite part about this game is the durability or the lack thereof of the wrestlers. So far, my longest match has been just under 10 minutes. My quickest match clocked in at approximately 2.5 minutes. Now I'm very imaginative with my wrestling, always have been. So even back in the days of Royal Rumble and WCW NWO Revenge, I wanted to simulate the feel of a grueling wrestling match, which we all know may take a while to play out in action. So I just basically wish that these cats could take a little more damage before tapping out, so to speak. It's rare to see anyone in this game, your character included, kick out of a second pinfall. It's like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am in a lot of cases. The damage issue was most noticeable in these one-on-one matches. That means the other match types, you get a little bit of reprieve in that regard because they're so chaotic that you typically have more challenges, more shenanigans to press through in order to secure the win. So these matches can go on a little bit longer. But since one-on-one seems to be the core, the staple of this game, it would be nice if they could go a little bit longer. Now, speaking of match types, this is where Fight Forever falls a tad short of its premise. Obviously, there's your one-on-one match. You've got your traditional tag team match, a three-way dance, and a fatal four-way. For gimmick matches, we've got a ladder match, the Casino Battle Royal, which is AEW's twist on a Royal Rumble, if you will, and an exploding barbed wire death match. What's missing from the menu is a steel cage match, which seems like it would be a given for any wrestling games these days, as well as 3-on-3, considering that trios tag matches are a staple of the AEW on-screen product. You would think that would be there. What's more, or perhaps what's less, is the fact that you can only do one-on-one ladder matches. This is very disappointing because multi-man scenarios really up the ante on the insanity and the fun a ladder match delivers in a video game. Don't get me wrong now, the Casino Battle Royal is very cool and the Barbed Wire Massacre is a blast. But even those matches put a cap on your good times. Unless I haven't figured it out yet, from what I can tell, you can only select the wrestler you want to fight as in the Battle Royal and not the other participants. It's just randomized and you just gotta go with the flow. So it is what it is on that tip. As for the death match, the ring is automatically set to explode at the 2-minute mark. While it does add a sense of angst and anticipation as you try to stay away from the ropes as the clock runs down, it would be cool if you could actually decide when the damn timer goes off. That would be taking the cue from his video game inspiration in Fire Pro Wrestling, where we first saw this deathmatch barbed wire shenanigans for the first time about 15, 16 years ago. The ropes themselves are our depth trap, so if you win the match without getting blown the fuck up, hey, that works for me. But seeing the ring explode and the motherfuckers do the Thriller Michael Jackson dance in the center of the ring, it's a nice little visual. I'll give them that. The match types is indicative of what AEW Fight Forever needs in general, and that is simply more options. Let us customize the Battle Royal field. Let us decide if we want to defend the titles or compete in a non-title matchup. Unless I'm missing out on something, it's like if you pick a dude who got a belt and you put him up against another dude, and your dude lose that match, he also lose the belt. I mean, it's not the biggest deal because I'm sure you can choose who you want to have the belt at any given time. It's just, all I'm asking for is a little bit more creative freedom, which I'm sure AEW is familiar with in the real world. There's also Road to the Elite, Fight Forever spin on the story mode. Now, I'm usually not a story mode guy when it comes to any wrestling game. I never fucked around with the My Career stuff on 2K. I honestly don't think I bothered with any of this type of career shit, even in the SmackDown games. I've always been more of a sandbox fantasy booking, create the storylines in my mind kind of guy. Which is why I really love the universe mode in the 2K games because it really plays into my fucking in-head fantasy canon, whatever you want to call it. That said, I might give this mode a try for the simple fact that you can stack up the little AEW dollars that allows you to unlock marginally useful items along the way. So basically, you compete for a roster spot before working your way up through the AEW ranks, which I imagine culminates in a title match on the company's biggest event at the end. Along the road, you engage in sightseeing expeditions, press conferences, interactions with other jabronis on the roster, etc., etc. Doesn't sound overly exciting, but hey, it's a thing that you can do if you want to do it. Speaking of jabronis, the Fight Forever roster is one of the game's more contentious elements. It's very limited, especially when compared to what you see on TV. In addition to the lineup that was featured on TV when the development of this game began, needless to say, there's a lot of guys missing who you probably expect to be in this game. I reckon this is something that will be remedied over time via DLC updates. It's not the biggest deal for me personally. I think the roster is serviceable, the size of the roster, but I can understand why some fans may be disappointed. It is what it is, but I think that's one of the easier things that they can fix in relatively short order. Another area where Fight Forever currently lacks options is the creation suite. While you can create your own rosters and arenas, there unfortunately is not a lot to work with if you want to throw in, say, a Seth Rollins or an arena from the TNA Asylum days. However, there's tons of moves, so you can at least ensure that your creative wrestler is a badass when they step between the ropes. And creating a wrestler is still a time-consuming process. As such, I hope they eventually roll out a community creations type of mode so we can download stuff that other people made online. I think that will be crucial to this game's longevity moving forward. The biggest draw of Fire Pro Wrestling way back when you had to transfer stuff via little flash drives and shit was this insane support for community creations. You could literally add hundreds of wrestlers made from the game's seemingly endless facial, body, and attire assets. I understand this is AEW's first time out with a video game, but it's 2023, goddammit. This type of feature is commonplace, so hopefully they get with the program. What leaves me both hopeful and excited about the future of AEW Fight Forever is mod support. Barely a week in, and mods for character models and arenas are already circulating on these internet streets. And from what it sounds like, the developers are actually endorsing this revolution. I'm going to play around with some of this stuff later, and if it actually works, I might throw up a video or two with some of the modded content in action. Very exciting stuff here. AEW Fight Forever. Like I said, man, it's a very polarizing game in this little wrestling bubble that we operate in. On one side, you've got players, fans, gamers, whatever you want to call them, shitting all over the graphics and what it lacks. On the other side, you got the diehard fanboys who start looking for your residential address if you dare say this game is not the greatest invention since pants with pockets. This is not unlike the hilarious and insufferable arguments that pit the AEW wrestling product against WWE sports entertainment as if they're not the same fucking thing. Wrestling fans, I swear they're worse than any fans. Boy, I'll tell you. As usual, I'm somewhere in the middle. While I think it could use an extra coat of polish or two, I think it's a cool little wrestling game that does in fact deliver on its promise of fun. And despite all the comparisons to the 2K games, I believe that like that franchise, it offers a balanced mix of both simulation and arcade style gameplay. The replay value may be limited in its current state, but overall, I dig the game. And I appreciate it. I'm glad it's here. I gotta admit though, all the talk about No Mercy, it had me worried, man. Yes, No Mercy, it was the shit in its heyday. But that was then, bro. Today, it's the last wrestling game I want to play if I have other, better, modern options on the table. Luckily, Fight Forever is 100 times better than No Mercy. Yes, I said it, goddammit. And even in this limited state, it trumps 2018's Fire Pro Wrestling World, which I honestly found rather disappointing. It took what worked in those games and created a tighter, more realistic wrestling game. So the people behind Fight Forever should at least be commended for doing that. And that's it for me. Until next time, peace.